So I've been involved with OHSIPP for a long time since I graduated my fellowship in 2006. I moved to Ohio right after fellowship, opened my own practice, and immediately got involved with OHSIPP pretty much right away. I've served as its president for 6 years, and now I'm currently the CEO of the organization, and of course Rick Buenaventura is the president. About 5 or 10 years ago, we were more political in nature, spent a lot of time doing lobbying with our local congressmen, representatives, working on initiatives at the state level. And then when Rick took over as being president, we had this whole concept of doing a large annual meeting. So this is our second annual meeting that we're doing. And it's grown from the first one, it'd probably be north of 300 people at this meeting. We wanted to really focus on sort of make this like a regional type meeting. Big draw from southwestern Ohio, the corner of Indiana, northern Kentucky. A lot of the doctors know each other, so kind of makes it a nice event where we all can hang out and exchange ideas. Makes for really fun social events, Of course, we'd like to see this expand across the entire state and region of Ohio and potentially the Midwest. When you look at the percentage, there's a much larger percentage from southwestern Ohio. We definitely have representation from Cleveland, Toledo, and other parts of Ohio, but when you look at the practices like in Dayton, my hometown, for example, I think every single practice has sent either their entire physician panel or at least one of their practitioners down here. Very strong showing from Cincinnati and Columbus as well. A lot of the leadership at OHSIPP currently is from southwestern Ohio. A lot of it's been word of mouth with how we've been getting this meeting put together. So I think that's kind of drawing more people from there. The way the meeting's set up is one of those over the weekend type things. In other words, you can maintain your normal practice and kind of drive down and do most of the meeting over the weekend. A lot of local physicians have been involved in the planning and setting up the meeting. And when we first decided to do this, we sat down and we said, okay, let's say we were to design like a perfect meeting. What would we want to learn, right? What would we want to study? What's interesting to us? And put together an agenda that does that, right? So a lot of times we go to meetings and we learn a lot of things, a lot of new things, up and coming things that aren't necessarily FDA approved yet. It's good to learn those things, but it's also good to go over the basics, So at this meeting, we have a lot of talks about basic stuff we do every day, epidural injections, facet blocks, RF ablations, and said, okay, let's kind of have some lecture sets really focused on our daily bread and butter stuff. And so we're trying to make this meeting practical in terms of going over stuff that's pertinent to us today, right now, at the moment. And leaving some of the emerging technologies and some of the bench research stuff that we may not use for several years to be given at other meetings. And for us here regionally, let's just focus on the now, the moment. The other thing that we're doing is a lot of regulation in pain management in Ohio. So we thought, well, let's get people from the medical board, here at the meeting, the pharmacy board here at the meeting, and that way we can talk about rules, regulations, laws pertinent to us and our practice. Well, we wanted to make this a fun meeting too, right? So, it's good to learn stuff that's pertinent to us now in the moment, but we want to make sure we also fostered social development, interactions with ourselves and our colleagues, and part of it's selfish. A lot of our friends are coming to this meeting, so we want to have a nice time with our friends. So, tonight, for example, we're going on a riverboat cruise. We have a rock and roll concert, from a rock legend in the 1970s. Tomorrow we rented an entire party deck, is what it's called, at the Cincinnati Reds Stadium. So I'll be out there, watching the game, hanging out. So, fostering some social interactions. And the venue's great. It's right here in downtown Cincinnati. You can walk out the front door of the hotel, and there's restaurants. There's a lot of liveliness out in Fountain Square, which is right across the street, for people to see and interact. This is only our second year doing it. Last year it was in Cincinnati. This year it is too. I think we'd be open to moving to other locations, but for now it seems to be working where we're at. So I think we'll see after the meeting to decide what to do, but for now Cincinnati seems like a really nice venue. But there's also good cities in Ohio, Columbus, Cleveland, even northern Kentucky, Lexington, Louisville could be some nice venues. Wherever we pick, we want it to be a venue where there's a draw, where there's fun, exciting stuff to do after the conference that we can all enjoy. Actually, the state chapter has been around for around 20 years, but it's really been active for about maybe the past 10 years. So I started as president probably about 8 years ago, and I was really focused on legislation aspects, political stuff, rules and regulations. So, for example, we had a lobby day, and I think it was in 2012, where we had 50 physicians come to Columbus, and we met with senators, congressmen, medical board, secretary of state in our state, and went over, our personal agenda. You could see over the past 10 years the natural evolution of the society getting bigger and bigger and more powerful and growing in numbers and in venues and in events that we do. And I suspect that growth curve is going to continue for the next 5 to 10 years. So a big advantage of the physicians in Ohio and Kentucky to come to this meeting is the social interaction, getting to interact with your colleagues, getting to learn about new things, getting to learn about pertinent things, and also getting to interact with people that have direct decision-making ability over your practice. For example, the president of the Ohio Medical Board, is going to be here. We got people from the Board of Pharmacy. We have regulatory people coming here. So this allows physicians to interact directly with them and talk about their concerns. And additionally, we made the agenda such that it was really pertinent to our practice today. So going over, basic injections and procedures that we do, just to hone in on our skills that we all have and to make them better. So there's several advantages of being part of OHSIPP outside the annual meeting. You have legislative support. You have a group of doctors that are well keyed in politically. The previous president of the medical board is an OHSIPP member. The governor reappointed an OHSIPP member to the medical board just about 4 months ago. The medical director for workers' compensation was an OHSIPP member. So we see OHSIPP members sort of spread out throughout the state in various leadership forms. So you have somebody that you can go to if you have a problem. And you also have the camaraderie of being amongst like-minded individuals, which is also helpful. I mean, billing and coding is the way we all honestly make money. It's a very integral part of our practice. So at OHSIPP, we're fostering educational initiatives to help with that. And specifically at this conference, we have a billing and coding specialist that's sort of going over the entire gambit, A to Z, of pitfalls to avoid with billing and coding. We also have active members of OHSIPP that are involved with Medicare directly as physician members on advisory panels that know when changes are about to come and can educate physicians on how to prepare the practice. So a combination of expert talent within the OHSIPP organization as well as external talent that we hire to provide presentations are all strong advantages of the society.